Okay, I think I'm on. I'm recording. Whoa. Hey guys, this is Tom. This is the first video I've made for a few months now because I've actually been out doing some volunteer work in Kenya. I was making some videos on this YouTube channel around the beginning of the year and also last year, and I was quite enjoying the process. So I'm going to continue it now I'm home and talk about a few things. And today I'm talking about Vipassana again. One of my first videos was me talking about my experience of the first time I did a 10-day Goenka Vipassana retreat here in the UK. And I recently just got back from my second one last weekend. And I noticed a few differences, and I also realised how much easier it was knowing what to expect and how it really helped me in making the most of those 10 days. So I thought it would be useful to make a video with some advice and some tips for any prospective new students who are about to go on their first 10-day Vipassana course, and also for anyone else who's maybe done it before a few years ago who is thinking about doing it again. And just a little reminder, because it really helps just having your mind clear on a few issues to make the most out of it whilst you're there. So let's get straight into it. I've got 10 points. I'll try and move through them quite quickly and keep it as useful as they may be. Number 1, try not to expect too much when you go into the Vipassana experience. You've probably, if you're doing it, if you're thinking of doing it, you've probably read some blogs on the internet. You've probably watched some videos, maybe like the one I made last year, and you've heard all these experiences people have had. You've heard people maybe seeing a white light or having out-of-body experiences, or becoming free from an addiction they've had, or having strange feelings and tingling sensations in their body. Yeah, that stuff all happens, but every experience is unique to the individual. So if you can go on with an open mind, not hoping you're going to experience anything, you'll be able to keep your mind clear on the technique, how to practice it, and then you just go with the flow and you see what happens. It'll make it a lot easier. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Let's go on to tip number 2. Follow, this is linked to the first, follow the instructions implicitly. Now, maybe you've been meditating for years and suddenly you're learning a different way of meditating, and you might think, well, you know, this way I've been practicing before works for me doing this, so maybe I'll practice that instead of what they're saying, or maybe I'll just twist it a little bit so I can practice that. It's the start of a slippery slope, because once you start thinking like that, you'll start to continually question and doubt what you're being taught, and you'll just end up in really mixed up and in a world of confusion. I'll admit, this kind of happened to me the first time I did it. I started doubting a lot of the things that were being said, and I didn't spend as much time as I could have practicing what I was being taught, and therefore I wasn't ready or didn't have the tools available to deal with the things that I experienced or to make the most of those 10 days. Second time round, I just stuck to what was being said and just did it. It frees up so much mental energy and just makes it a lot easier to keep your focus. And also I found the 10 days went a lot quicker as well by doing that. Number 3, decide on your position of meditation, your posture, as early on as you can. It's always funny when you go into the meditation hall and you look around and you see everyone's creations on their meditation mats of all the different cushions they use. Some people are on these towers. It's like the Princess and the Pea, you know, they're sitting on cushion after cushion after cushion because they think that's going to make them more comfortable. Other people have got blankets wrapped up to support their arms and legs. It's just funny seeing all the different creations. But if you can find a position which will either probably be sitting down cross-legged in the half lotus or full lotus, sitting in a chair if you have some kind of back ailment, or kneeling on your knees. Figure out which one of those is right for you, and then just try and keep it simple. Because if you're trying to feel comfortable the entire time, it's impossible. No matter how flexible you are, no matter how long you've meditated for, there'll be a point throughout this 10 days where you suffer some physical discomfort. So the best thing to do is, instead of thinking by adding another cushion here or another blanket there, which is going to alleviate it, is just find a position where you at least feel comfortable to sit down to start with and stick to it. I found just a single cushion underneath my bum, sitting cross-legged, was the best way to go. First time round, I tried all sorts of different ways to sit. So figure out something simple, stick to it. Again, it's amazing how much mental pain and anguish your mind will create if you're trying to fix every single little ache and niggle, because it'll just make it worse and worse. It'll make it a big thing. If you just sit down, you become focused, you don't even notice it. So find a position and stick with it. Number 4. Obviously, not many of us are used to getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning, but once you're awake, try and stay awake for the rest of the day. It's very tempting and very easy to take the times out and you're given in the day at lunchtime or after breakfast, or even when you're told that you're allowed to go back to your room to meditate. It's very easy to use those times as like, oh, I can escape and sleep and chill out and lie in my bed. If you do that, one, it will kind of mess your mindset up and your focus, because you're going to be drowsy all the time, so you're going to go in and out of sleep. And also it will start to create a mental barrier between you and the practice of trying to learn this technique. And if you do that, it's kind of like there's not much point of you being there in the first place. You'll just end up having a boring time and looking at your clock and your watch all the time, counting down the minutes, counting down the days till it's over. So just try and stay awake and just try and keep working and practicing. And it's tough at times. It is a lot of self-responsibility, and sometimes the constant meditating can seem monotonous. But believe me, if you just have a bit of discipline and you just keep making the most of every day, you will get into a groove. And once you get into that groove, it becomes a lot easier. If you feel tired, just go for a brisk walk or even have a cold shower, anything to just keep you awake. Tip number 5. This relates to the last tip about feeling tired. When it comes to meal times, especially lunch, don't go overboard on your portion. You'll be told this, but it's always worth keeping it in mind, because it's amazing watching just how much some people will eat. Obviously, you're only being fed twice a day, but the food at lunchtime is plentiful. It's really good food, really good vegetarian food, and there's plenty of it. If you eat too much, you're going to feel drowsy, you're going to feel heavy. It's not going to be conducive for a good mindset for meditating. Plus, even though you're getting 2 meals a day, you're not really doing anything. You're not being physical, you're not running around, you don't need a lot of energy. And you'll feel better if you don't starve yourself, obviously, but if you just eat enough. Don't eat till you're full, just eat a little bit less than you normally would. Savour the food, enjoy it. Trust me, you'll feel much better for it. So go easy on the food, don't go crazy. Tip number 6, you get some free time during the day, or some respite, to walk around, explore the area a little bit, chill out, sit down, whatever. These are great opportunities to, instead of turning off mentally, to actually practice just being present, being in the present moment. Keeping your eyes open while still meditating, because in truth, most of our days we spend with our eyes open, so it's not good to only keep that mindset when you're sitting down to meditate. Try and carry it with your eyes open, so it actually is useful for you in your day-to-day life. So when you walk around, just be mindful, look at things, but try not to label them or think about them. Just experience what it is you're experiencing at that moment. Go for a mindful walk. The walking areas are usually in very beautiful spots. So the one in UK, in Dharmadippa, is anyway a nice little woodland, and you can notice so many things, and it's a really good opportunity to just keep you in that meditative mind state, rather than just going to sleep or just switching off or just daydreaming for an hour. So just try and stay present. It's a great practice, and it'll help you in your daily life when you get back to. Alright, number 7, this is a bit of a funny one, but it is something that will arise for a lot of people, and arise is, you'll have to excuse the pun when you figure out what this is about. But sexual fantasies are something that will probably come and try and deter you at some point. This is maybe the first time for a lot of people, unless you live in the basement of your parents' house, where you will be separated from the opposite sex for such a long amount of time. Now, you're not completely separated from them. You will still see the opposite sex, as they shall be sitting across from you in the meditation hall. Now, it's very easy to become a bit distracted You start looking over, maybe you see a nice guy or a nice girl that takes your fancy, maybe you see a couple. And as you're sitting there, your mind starts to kick into action and starts imagining certain situations that maybe you and these lovely counterparts across the hall could end up in. Now, once you do this, it can become very distracting, believe me. So it's good to just, obviously, not suppress it, be aware of what's happening, but quickly throw some water on it, cool it all down, and move on. Go back to your focus of meditation. Because otherwise, every time you leave that Dharma hall, you're going to have some very embarrassing and awkward shapes prodding from your pants areas. Well, especially if you're a guy. If you're a girl, then, well, you're probably sitting on the wrong side of the hall if you're getting those shapes prodding. So yeah, just be aware, it happens. Just save it till you get home. Number 8, quite an important one. Vipassana is a bit of, well, it's an emotional roller coaster. So don't go in expecting 10 days of mental bliss away from the craziness of the outside world. It is that, but you'll also have down days. No matter how good you think you are at following the meditation, or how good you're doing, or how high you might feel one day, be rest assured you're going to have times where you are going to feel down. The best thing to do is just accept this. Don't allow it to put you off the technique, to make you think it's not working, to make you think you're wasting your time. Just accept it. The quicker you accept it and you get back on the horse, so to speak, the easier it is. And you'll find when you talk to people at the end that everyone goes through this. It's normal. You're allowing so much stuff inside of you to start to come up to the surface. Not all of it's going to be pretty. So just be aware that sometimes you're just not going to feel all that hot. Just, again, allow it to pass and continue. Number 9, you will get the opportunity to ask questions. And if you're a new student, you are going to have a lot of questions to ask. Maybe you've got lots of doubts, or you're interested, you want to know more about certain things. It's good to ask questions. The assistant teachers, that's kind of why they're there, is to offer guidance, and so you can ask questions to them. But don't get too caught up in your head trying to formulate really clever questions or to have philosophical or intellectual debates with them, because they won't play with you. That's what they're not there for that. So a good thing is that if you have a real pressing issue that you can't ignore, ask the question. Otherwise, just keep following what you're being taught. It makes it a lot easier and it'll free up a lot of mental space. Number 10, again, a bit of a funny one to end on, and this is going to be personal preference, but get used to chanting. Maybe I wasn't expecting to hear as much chanting as you do here at Vipassana. Now, this isn't chanting that everyone has to do. You're not told to do this chanting. This is just chanting that is played over the loudspeaker, and it's a recording of Goenka, the teacher's voice. This chanting is in Pali, the ancient Indian language that is supposedly the language spoken by the Buddha, and the chanting, I think, most of it is words that apparently were spoken by Gautama the Buddha, and it's being chanted kind of as a dedication or a blessing, or as encouragement to the students who are practicing. But the funny thing is, Goenka, incredible man, one of the wisest men I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing, one of the wisest human beings, compassionate, full of love, full of humour, but not blessed with the most aesthetically pleasing voice, or pleasing voice to the ears. So the chanting is not everyone's cup of tea, and maybe the first time you arrive, the first thing you hear is this chanting, and you're like, "Ooh, what is this? I didn't sign up for this. It sounds like a crazy cult." It's not. It's just a bit of cultural conditioning from his past, his background of being from India and Burma, and it just so happens that it's being spoken in a language other than English. So just accept it, allow it to pass over you, or maybe you love it, maybe you enjoy it, maybe you're going to go home and buy the CD of Goenka's greatest hits if there's one around. But it just is what it is. Okay, there we go. That's my 10 tips, hints, words of advice for anyone who's about to go on their first Vipassana course. So I hope that they have been helpful. I hope it has maybe cleared up any doubts or anything that you were worried about and made you feel more confident. Vipassana, kind of like anything else in life, you get out of it what you put in. So just, even if you realise at the end of 10 days it's not for you, to be honest, I'm still undecided, and I've done 2 now. What I do realise is it does have benefit, and it is a technique that does work if you follow what you're taught. So if anyone who has watched this video has any more questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If there's anyone who has done a retreat before and has anything they would like to add, please leave a comment. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe. I've noticed I've got some subscribers when I was out in Africa, so thank you to you guys, and hopefully I can continue putting on some videos that people enjoy or find of value. Thanks, have a great day, and peace out.